Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Remo Orr, and this channel is dedicated for those that are working on raising their vibration. Today is a very unique and special topic, and I'm going to talk about the dry fasts that I'm doing, the extended dry fast, not just the 1 and 2 days. I know you know that science doesn't necessarily know everything, right? And science tells us that, a person should die after 3 days or 4 days without food and without water. If not die, then at least completely dehydrated. They should be suffering, they should be dying in some way. Their blood tests should change. In the last 10 to 20 years, we are beginning to take more alternative medicine than we do normal Western scientific medicine. And we do this because we stop believing, right? We understand that the medicine companies, we understand that people are doing more for money and for ego than they are for our benefit, for our healing. So we can't really trust a system that continuously tells us that there's something wrong and we should always visit the doctor and we should always visit the dentist and blah blah, because that is not how things should be. A person is born healthy. In other words, we are in some way creating an illness within ourselves. Society and the system is helping us create that by bombarding us with low vibration information, belief systems, and by trying to manipulate and control us. Now, when I do these extended dry fasts, there are realizations, there are epiphanies, there are aha moments that you don't have otherwise. You don't have it because your body is not really clean, because you're busy, because the digestive system actually takes a lot of the energy of the body while you're eating. That's why, after lunchtime, everybody feels tired and their productivity descends drastically. You can see this in an office if you're working. If you're above 25, you probably notice that the productivity increases in the morning when everybody's highly motivated, and then it goes down. Same thing, by the way, with the days of the week. If you don't really enjoy your job, Monday and Tuesday will be the best productive days, and then everybody's kind of reaching out and aiming to reach the weekend. So I would like to share with you about this specific dry fast that I did on TV. I did another one that was 10 days by myself. I did another one that was a part of my pranic initiation, my breatharian initiation, which was about in 2013. That was 7 days. So I was playing around with it. And I can tell you, beyond the biology itself that actually tells us that after 3 days, the liver is completely cleansed, that most of the toxins are out of your system, most of the poisonous, you can say, viruses that were in your system. Some people have worms, some people have different, you can say, entities that are living inside us that make us feel that we are actually craving, make us addicted to different sugars, and they actually decide for us what we actually want to have, what we actually want to eat. So when you have a craving, you suddenly understand that it wasn't really you, it was something else. And a lot of people, by the way, they take out those worms because those worms actually die because you're not feeding them anymore. And then you realize that you don't have those cravings that you had before. So the biology actually says that in 3 days, the body transforms itself. What happens to the immune system is that the body starts eating the blood cells, the white blood cells, the protection cells, in other words, the immune system cells that are half alive. In other words, a cell, just like a person, has a birth, has a life, and has a death. So the body actually creates energy from them, and it forces the body to create new white blood cells, meaning the immune system becomes stronger. And this is, of course, scientific research that has been done. This also explains why so many Holocaust survivors from different countries survived for so long, because what they endured for a few years is near starvation experiences, and that actually created a very strong body. So some of them lived to be 90, 100 years old. You'll probably notice, by the way, when they research people who live very long lives and very healthy lives, you will probably notice that they fast once in a while, or they significantly reduce their caloric intake. But the really difficult part in a dry fast, at least for me, is everything that has to do with emotion, with boredom, anything that has to do with staying tuned and being in the moment. Usually when I dry fast, I will not do it while I'm working. I will not do it while I'm with my family. I will try to do it secluded by myself. And I know it's difficult for some people with the family. I will do it without my cell phone, which is very important, because what I want to reach is a higher vibration and a higher understanding. So if I seclude myself from society, it also means that I'm not sharing the frequency of their thoughts and their emotions, and it doesn't influence me that much. But what I do get, because I'm very active, I'm even hyperactive, and my CPU, keeps working so much. I had a lot of thoughts. I used to be an overthinker. And in that time, that was my main problem, my main issue, boredom. You go through 10 days without food and without water, and you start thinking all these thoughts, mind games, we call them in the processes that we teach. What happens is that you start thinking, why the hell am I doing this? What do I have to prove? Is this coming from my spiritual ego? My body is already healthy enough. And all these kind of mind games come up, and they're putting you down. Why? Because sometimes people break their fast exactly because of that. They start visualizing the food that they're going to have in the end, especially if it's a dry fast, because we're really not used to not having water on a day-to-day basis. I know that in my country, we have one day a year that everybody fasts. And it's like it's a forgiveness type of practice that we fast. They tell us that it is to abuse the body and to make us suffer a little bit because of our, it's a religious and ancient religious type of thing, sort of like Jesus died for everybody's sins. But in truth, we fast because it clears the body to become more spiritual awakened when we are meeting God and when we are apologizing to other people for the bad deeds we did in the last year. There is something very, very important in understanding that a dry fast that is done by yourself doesn't have the energy of the group, doesn't have the experience of guides and stuff like that. So usually it's better to do it a few people together or in larger groups. Like what we're doing, the different workshops and the different breather initiations around the world, is we're having a lot of people come together with a common intention of experiencing something unique, something that they've never done before. And that's why it's much easier than we do it by ourselves. Because it's sort of like when you're completely out of practice and you're starting to exercise, and it's really difficult in the beginning because you don't have someone, you don't have a coach or a trainer to come and tell you. So it's better to do it physically together, but it's also okay to do it when you have someone that is doing it with you far away, as long as you have that energy. But I can tell you that we don't have the same type of attitude, we don't have the same type of strength and motivation when somebody is far away from us. It's better to do it when everybody's together, because we're kind of like come with the intention and we understand that we came to do something, to do a 4-day dry fast together as a group, and it turns out to be amazing every time. In addition to that, I would love to hear your comments about your experience with dry fasting, why you haven't done it so far, or why you have done it and stopped, why you did one day and where you're going to see yourself. Because I believe that everybody should do at least once a year a 3-day dry fast, just to reset the immune system, just to reset the mind and all the belief systems we have about food, about emotional eating, about the needs of the body, because it profoundly changed the way I perceive our existence as a dependency and a non-dependency as well. And it brought me to this amazing type of lifestyle that I had no idea existed 10 years ago when I was much younger. That 8-day experiment that I volunteered to, they gave me a really hard time. I never really shared my thoughts about what they did there, but they really wanted me to fail. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. You can go to my website and you can check out under video, watch one of the documentaries that I did or they did upon me when they tested me. And I actually got $100,000 for that. And it was a bet. It wasn't actually from the television. It was a guy that didn't believe that it was possible. So it was a bonus. And it kind of told me also that Spirit is sending me this abundance in that way. So I can give some of that. And I gave and I donated some of that. And I used some of that for free energy, research and stuff like that. Because I believe that abundance should be, shared abundantly, as one might say. So in that specific dry fast, it was a little bit harder because not only the emotional stuff that came up, and again, you can watch the whole thing, it's online. It was mostly because they harassed me every day and they took blood tests, and nobody's supposed to take blood tests from a person that's dry fasting, especially with me because I have a blood test phobia. So first time they did it, I almost fainted, and every day after it was much easier for me because I understood how much it is in my mind. It's just that I never get sick, so I don't actually need any blood taken from me. So many years I didn't need any blood tests. So that was the hard part. They came every evening, they were mocking me a lot, they were making me feel like a fool. After 4 days, something changed in them. They were like, okay, this is the point where the doctor should, bring the ambulance and they should carry this guy away from here. And they started respecting. They started respecting spirituality. They started seeing that I'm not in any way reflecting back their negativity. I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining my point of view on things. And again, you can watch this whole thing online. It's kind of cool. Now that I watch it and I see how my younger self dealt with all those things, I learned a lot from him. Plus, I learned how my hair looks much better this way. Anyway, when you are decided to do a dry fast, make it safe. In other words, don't go for the 3-4 days immediately. We are full of toxins, and these toxins have been accumulating ever since we were very, very young children. This doesn't necessarily mean that you ate bad. It means that there are suppressed emotions that need to come out. It means that there's a lot of carbon dioxide emissions from trucks and from wherever it is that you used to live. It means that there's a lot of things that don't really have to do with you, so don't feel bad about it. But this will change your life. Do this 1 day a week. Dry fast for 24 hours. My recommendation is to take the first business day. In other words, after the weekend where everybody kind of like, let's go, and there's a lot more sinning going on where that have to do with food and neglecting the body and stuff like that. So 24 hours from the evening, for you guys, for most of you, it will be from the evening of Sunday until the evening on Monday. Depends on your religion, or depends on your country. I know that most people of the world, they have Saturday and Sunday off. Muslims, it's Friday. For Jews, it's the Saturday. So the first day, just try it one time, no strings attached. In other words, try it one time, see how you feel. Maybe it will be difficult the first time, first 24 hours, maybe it will be super easy. And with time, when you get used to it, after about a month, see if you want to play just a little bit more than that. In the beginning, you don't have to stop your regular schedule. In other words, continue doing everything except for exercising. Maybe you don't want to go to the gym or whatever it is that you're doing in the first times. After a while, your body will get used to it and you'll start getting the benefits themselves. In other words, the clean, the toxins, the clarity of mind, meditations are going to be deeper. You will not feel hungry. All these benefits are going to come. And just think about it. If you're doing this once a week, you're actually reducing everything you take by 15%, right? 15% from 7 days, in other words. So 100 divided by 7, it's about 14 point something. So these are all the benefits. There's a lot of biology behind it. I don't want to go into the details. It's too mental right now. I want you to really intuitively feel and ask your guides, is this something that I can learn from? Is this something that I can benefit from? For me, it was a life-changing experience. In other words, I started doing this stuff when I was about 25, way before my breather initiations. I started fasting once a week because it was recommended by a movement that I was involved in back in the day called the Raelian movement. And after I left, I decided to continue because I felt it's doing something really, really good and positive in my mind and in my body. And I highly recommend that when you do decide to take the next step for yourself, consider doing it in a group environment, like what we're doing in the different processes and initiations in the world when a lot of people come together to do a dry fast. The intention itself really helps. Now, the intention, it's better physically located together, but the intention can also be from afar. But the thing is that a lot of people think that it's going to be easy for them, and then they kind of like fail, and then the mind games come up and all these type of things. Those are the difficulties. Now, if you have any experience in dry fasting, please comment right here. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about people that went more than me, more than the 10 days that is right now is my record. And I'm not talking about the people who are actually somewhere in India and stuff like that. Person you know. I'd like to hear your experience if you had any difficulties and if you took the time and not jumped into the 3-4 days, even longer dry fasts, and how you decided to deal with those difficulties. So this is some of my experience with dry fasting. Of course, I did 3 very long ones. Today, occasionally I do 2-3 days. I mostly stay on liquids, but occasionally I also eat because I'm not as extreme as I was in the beginning of my breatharian path. So thank you very, very much, guys, for giving me your time and your attention and for watching my content. You can subscribe to the rest of my content, of course, and you can find more of my stuff on raymoor.com. Namaste, and I will see you in my next video.